KSC, presents. Cops are called when couple makes a mysterious discovery during home improvement project. This Ohio couple had been trying to give their home a makeover when they found something that they never suspected was hiding in the 40s house. After they were done renovating the first and second stories, it was time for them to fix the basement. They had no idea that it was going to be the start of an adventure that they would never forget. You see, it all started when they had to get rid of the plywood. They were intrigued by the object they found and started looking into matters some more. However, they had no idea they would need to get in touch with the FBI for what they would find. They hacked at the walls when the husband found a bunch of graffiti down there. However, the couple did not have any idea that the basement was hiding more secrets than just markings on the wall. The homeowner was shocked when he found all kinds of drawings and writings on the wall after he removed the wallpaper. At the time, he did not know that this was barely the tip of the iceberg. What else was the house hiding from him? He also found an object lying between the subfloor and the ceiling. This man wanted to take a better look at it, but he had a hard time doing so. After all, it was stuck between the rafters very snugly. He had to use all of his strength to take it out of there. The owner of the house could not focus on anything but the renovation project. He just kept working by hammering on and then cleaning the area. Aside from that, he also recorded the journey with a camera. As he started to work on the ceiling, part of the wall had been demolished to an extent. As he kept going, he saw that there was something in there. The bulk turned out to be a suitcase. Why was this green and gray piece of luggage there? You do not have to be a genius to figure out that someone wanted it to remain unfound. The homeowner was also shocked by how much it weighed. There was something warning him to be very careful with it. He was so excited by the possibilities that the suitcase contained. Well, we would be too. What was he going to find inside this mysterious box? He called his wife to tell her about it and waited until she returned home. After all, he wanted to share the big reveal with her. On top of that, it was important to have a backup and witness just in case. After all, there must be a reason some person went to such an extent to hide it. As he waited for his wife, he gave the suitcase another inspection. One of the things that bothered him was just how heavy it was. Even though it was rather small in size, he knew that it must be carrying huge secrets. The man started to think about all the things that it might have. One thing was for sure, this piece of luggage must have been hiding something important or valuable. It had been mind-boggling to stumble into something like this. He was very excited to check out what was hiding inside of it. As soon as his wife returned home, he told her all about his discovery. We bet that this was the most exciting thing that has happened to him in a while. It felt like Christmas since he had to unwrap a mysterious box. The couple got together and wondered what might be inside. What could possibly be inside? Maybe they would find jewelry or cards in there. They decided to lower their expectations. After all, they did not want to be disappointed if it only had old sports cards. Together, the couple opened this piece of luggage. They were not particularly impressed at first. After all, they only found rectangular objects wrapped in wax paper. Was this all? This was not what they expected the bag to contain. At last, it all started to make so much more sense when they took out the rectangular objects. What did the pieces of wax paper have inside of them? They were holding something there, but what could it be? He then took off the waxy paper from the objects. After unwrapping it, he saw that it actually held cash inside. To be specific, it was a thick stack made up of $20 bills. Mind you, it was the first one of many. They started to inspect the bills even more closely and noticed that these were old money. However, they were in shock by how much money there was. But who would have stashed it all down there? These are all 20s. There may be a couple thousand here. We are freaking out at this point, he said when he spoke to reporters. This doesn't happen to us. What do we do? Where are the cameras? They could not wait to unwrap the rest of the bundles. Were they going to contain the same amount of money? It was possible that they would have more or less, of course. At any rate, they were thrilled. Of course, they remained hopeful that the rest of the bundles would contain the same thing. We are sure they felt excited as they unveiled the other ones. They did not find $20 bills this time, however. No, they found $50 and $100 bills. The second package didn't have any 20s. It was all 50s. What is going on here? There could be $5,000 here. Wait. The third package is 100s. This is out of control. He narrated at a later period. There were plenty of questions running through their heads. The couple just found a stack of mysterious bundles of cash in the house. In the beginning, they found it funny. However, it soon dawned on them that this was no laughing matter. After all, they wanted to find out who hid the money and why they did such a thing. Where could all the money have come from? It was clear that the bills came from a long time ago, from the 20s and the 30s. Among the questions that they also had to count all the money. They looked into it some more. Soon enough, one thing became clear to both the man and woman. The money and suitcase were very old. What could they do to find out more about the current situation? They took the bundles of cash out of the suitcase and found something that would clarify a number of things. There was a newspaper lying at the bottom. The date helped answer some of their questions. According to the date on the newspaper, it was published on March 25, 1951. Whoa! Aside from that, it was an old issue of the Cleveland Plain Dealer newspaper. The couple was shocked by its age. Apart from the date, they also found out that the person behind it had been based in Cleveland. They got more thrilled the more they learned about this discovery. But how just much money was in there? You never know when you are going to stumble into something like this. They were also shocked to see that many of the bills were star bills. This meant that they never even made their way to the market. This is on top of the fact that they came from more than 7 decades in the past. Yes, it was truly an amazing find. The husband and wife were both shocked. They then contacted a lawyer to help them figure out how much all the cash would be in today's currency. According to the lawyer, the suitcase contained around $23,000. The couple had been in high spirits for a week after they came into this incredible surprise. In the end, they still had to finish the renovation and stick to their old routines. Even though they were happy with the discovery, they could not afford to waste any time. They might have found $23,000 in a suitcase, but the renovation still had to be finished. Well, it turned out that this was not the end of the mystery just yet. The man found one more suitcase in the ceiling. He did not think that it was possible to find another suitcase like that. No one can fault him for how excited he got. Aside from that, he was also in disbelief that he missed this one when he saw the first one. Like the first time, he decided to wait for his spouse before opening it. This was a wild ride for us, and I hope you all enjoyed it, too, he said when he talked about his journey on Reddit. The man also explained, "We are boring people and have been dumping our extra money to pay off our mortgage, and that is where this money will go to." It also helped that his camera was there the whole time. Despite this, he had no clue that there were more surprises in store for them. After finding the other suitcase, their curiosity was through the roof. After all, this probably meant that the house was hiding more mysteries. However, it did not sit right with them to have a half-done basement. They decided to keep working and searching at the same time. Soon enough, they found something that was so shocking that they had to get in touch with the FBI. In the meantime, the husband and wife decided to just continue with the renovation of the basement. The couple opened the suitcase as soon as she returned home. It was very similar to the first one. After all, it also came with stacks of money. When they found out how much it was, they were speechless. They had no idea that there was more money waiting for them after they opened the first suitcase. The man was very shocked when he saw the second one. After all, just how lucky were they going to get? They recalled what was in the first suitcase. This was the reason that they were optimistic about what they would find in there, but it was not exactly the same. There were no bundles of wax paper this time. But just how many suitcases were they going to find over the course of this renovation project? The man knew that the house must be hiding more valuable items. He decided to wait for his wife once more before he checked the contents of this new suitcase. From the outside, this second suitcase was identical to the one that came before it. Maybe it meant that it was going to have the same thing on the inside. The couple opened it as soon as she came back. After some time, the excitement brought by the money-filled suitcases waned. They decided to pick up where they left off. It was then that they recalled that there was a strange door in the second floor of the house. They had a lot of questions about this particular door, but the truth was far stranger. The second one was lined with cash in a very tidy way. They gasped in shock after seeing this. But how just much money did it have? This loot turned out to be even bigger than the first one. What other secrets did the house have? Their sudden windfall came as a total shock to them. It did not seem possible for something like this to happen. After they had the second stash appraised, they found out that it was worth $45,000. Whoa. The two of them were surprised and amazed, but they still had to carry out the rest of the renovation. Of course, they kept their fingers crossed that they would find even more incredible discoveries as they did so. They kept renovating the house, but they also wondered if there was going to be more secrets as they did so. Even though they had their suspicions, they had no inkling that the FBI would have to come over. They were already aware that there were some huge secrets in the house. The couple only felt even more motivated to keep exploring it. Soon enough, they realized the next place that they should check. You see, they were informed by the realtor about a secret door where they would find the hot water heater. When they remembered this, they knew that this was a good hiding place for a valuable object. They then went to the second floor to inspect it. It turns out that their suspicions had been correct. This was where the biggest secret had been hiding. After opening the door, they knew they had been lied to. The realtor told them that it was a room for the water heater, but that was a lie. This was no normal house. After they cracked the door open, they could not believe what they were looking at. This hidden room was even bigger than what they had in mind. There was a carpet there that would lead them to the next surprise. The man asked his spouse to remain at the back as he went deeper. He started to come up with a bunch of theories. What was he going to find behind that door? It must have been disorienting to find out that your house had a secret room that you did not know about. Sadly, this door had a master lock and a bolt to secure it. These things were not going to stop him just like that, however. He felt determined to check what the door was hiding. He went downstairs to grab a hammer so he could pound on it. Apart from this, the couple could tell that it was used for a certain amount of time. It was in pretty bad shape. It was not just dark but also moldy. But why would someone go to so much trouble to hide it? It is shocking to hear that the couple had been living there for a few years already. It was the first time that they ever checked it out. One of the most disturbing things about it was that it was soundproofed. Of course, they did not arrive at a good conclusion. After all, most people would have something like this for criminal reasons. The ceiling, floor, and walls were all wrapped in white soundproofing tarp. But why? What was this room hiding anyway? By this point, we already know that the man liked to do things D. He was very curious, so he planned to get to the bottom of things no matter what it was going to take. This secret room was not empty either. As a matter of fact, he saw a briefcase on the floor. He felt some hesitation and paused for a second to collect his thoughts. However, his curiosity made it impossible to stand still for too long and made him grab the briefcase. Do we need to tell you that places with hiding areas usually mean bad things? It is hard to believe that a home renovation project would take such a sinister turn. But what did he find when he broke the lock? The briefcase carried some interesting items. There was a wooden box, a jewelry box, watches, 4.1 ounces silver ingots, rings, watches, and envelopes containing money from various countries. Whose prized possessions could these be? And why were they in a briefcase in a secret room? There was another door in the hidden room. There were heavy soundproofing material and a white plastic tarp. The man did not feel comfortable in there. Something simply felt off. It looked like it came from a horror movie. This was how he thought a torture chamber would look like. As they kept exploring this part of the house, they would find something that sent chills down their spines. The more they continued to check out the relics in the room, the more they felt the need to get in touch with the proper authorities. The couple began to find more strange things in the room. We already talked about the old brown case that they found. They got lucky with the first two suitcases, so they thought that this was going to be full of money as well. However, this briefcase did not contain cash like the suitcases did. As a matter of fact, it did not have any money for them. We are glad to hear that they had the presence of mind to document everything that they saw. They still had the camera on them to record their findings. We are sure that they would want to remember every step of the way. It is not every day that you start an adventure like this one. They then opened the case and peeked inside. There was an assortment of items in there. They saw antique jewelry such as watches, a ring, and 4 silver ingots. However, there was something else that caught their attention. They found a number of envelopes that had money from different countries. There was something else that piqued their curiosity. It was a sentry safe that was located in the corner of the room. What would they find inside of it? What were they going to find in a secret safe in a secret room in a secret room? As you can see, there were far too many layers of security for them to feel good about it. The man got intimidated by it all. After all, he knew that the safe would contain something more than just money and jewelry. He just knew that he was not going to be happy with what he was going to find. The items they previously found were valuable, but he felt skeptical about the level of security in that room. They knew that the room was hiding more secrets. He was right. However, he decided to simply forget about these nagging thoughts for now and cracked the safe. After opening it, he saw a note that verified what his gut told him. It said, "Save yourself." The two words were already pretty bad, but it felt even more sinister thanks to the rough penmanship and black ink used to write them down. But who would have written it and why would they do that? There was no way for him to figure it out if he just stopped there. However, they eventually found certain things that made him feel very uncomfortable. After seeing them, he knew that it would be better to just leave it to the authorities. The man felt very intrigued, so he started to check out what the safe contained. However, there was something in there that made him feel very unsafe. There were a couple of tapes inside the safe, but he was bothered by a handwritten message that read, "Do not." He was old enough to recognize that these were videotapes. In order to solve the mystery, he needed to watch the recordings inside of them. What was he going to see? He decided to take out the tapes to give them a closer inspection. What kind of footage would these things contain? He felt surprised upon realizing that the tapes looked a lot newer than the rest of the items that they found. Aside from that, the tapes also came with numbers that must have been labels. However, those were the only things that he could say about them. He found one tape that had no label. There were 6 tapes there, and 5 of these came with tags. What was happening? Was this a twisted prank that someone set up for them? It was starting to get out of hand. In the end, they decided to just call the authorities. However, the homeowner was too curious for his own good. This was what led him to check out the tapes. He could only watch them for a couple of seconds before he knew that it was time to hand over this task to the authorities. The FBI confiscated all 6 tapes, but we never got to hear what was inside of them. For now, the only people who have seen the footage would be the maker, the agents, and the homeowners. The man ended up watching something that he wished he could forget. We are sad to tell you that we might not ever hear what the tapes contained. Members of the media have presented their own theories about it. They believe that it showed footage of crimes that were carried out in the soundproofed room. However, there is no way to verify this without watching them. It was a given that the investigation made the couple question every single thing that they know about the house that they call home. What was up with all those money, secret rooms, and hidden tapes? Did the house have more secrets that were lying in wait? What do you think you will do if you ever find something like that in your home? As a matter of fact, this is not the most important question just yet. How confident are you that there is nothing like this in the place that you call your home? This couple was lucky enough that they got out of that situation safe and sound. They were right to contact the authorities after realizing that it was getting out of hand. At the very least, we are sure that they feel glad to have a story that they can tell their grandkids in the future. Just so you know, there is nothing new about finding interesting stuff in old homes. As a matter of fact, it is pretty common to stumble into the strange and unsettling when you move houses. We have the perfect example for you. This man just bought a house after the original owner died. The realtors gave it to him as is for pennies. He felt very excited about the new house and explored the house. What was he going to find in the basement? When he descended the staircase, he found it odd that there was a sheet of plywood on top of the wall. After he took it off, he found out that it was concealing a secret room hiding all sorts of ammo and guns. There was even a hollowed-out grenade in there. It was also pretty exciting to find a chest of money with pennies and a huge safe. This British couple had been going through the basement of the family home when they found something interesting. They never knew that there was an intact Victorian kitchen in there. It was stocked with a cooking range, pans, pots, and seating for 20 diners. There was also a cookbook full of Victorian recipes down there. What an amazing discovery. Wally and Linda Deforest make up another couple who moved into their new home without any idea that they would stumble into something big. Linda had been unpacking in the basement when she found something baffling. She called Wally to inform him that there was a torpedo there. We can see why he did not believe her right away. You can imagine his shock when he saw that she was right about that. Yes, there really was a green torpedo in the basement. They talked to an army veteran and found out that it must have been a mortar or an anti-tank weapon used in the Korean War or Vietnam War. The authorities eventually came over to take it away. But how could have a torpedo ended up in a place like that? Apparently, there were folks who liked to keep things like this as a souvenir of sorts. Even though it is fascinating to discover strange and quirky artifacts in your basement, there are times when it is more than just a souvenir. Pat and Diana Farla were the residents of an old Victorian house. The basement had a weird grate that they always felt intrigued by. After a little wine one night, they decided to check it out. They got rid of the iron grill and saw that it was hiding a hole that was big enough for a small kid to go through. What was truly shocking was the fact that there was a chapel-like cellar on the other side. Historians said that the room must have come from the 1700s. It was probably used as a secret church when Catholics were getting executed and persecuted in England. Here is yet another example of an interesting find. In 1963, a man had been renovating his house when he brought down a wall and found a hidden room. This is already exciting enough, but he was even more thrilled to find one after another. It turned out that he had just discovered an entire underground city. Derinkayu is one of the most incredible archaeological discoveries during the 20th century. It was an ancient city made up of underground tunnels that the Hittites called home. How creepy is it when you find old photographs? However, this one takes the cake. After all, just thinking about a photo asking you to find him is simply terrifying. If this ever happened to us, we would have sold it right away and never looked back. What an amazing find. A family stumbled into a famous painting by American painter Norman Rockwell behind a fake wall in the house of their late father. Apparently, the late man had a fake one on display so that his wife would not get the real deal during their divorce proceedings. He did not tell anyone in the family about this. In the end, they earned $15.4 million for the painting through an auction. Something like that happened in New York. A man forgot that he had a Michelangelo painting hiding behind his couch for 27 years. The work of art was worth $300 million. A pair of brother and sister had been renovating their home in Nova Scotia when they discovered 31 love letters from a World War I soldier. They found the stash hiding in the walls. They traced the names in the letters and met up with the grandchildren of the couple. What a lovely little discovery. This man just moved into his new house and made the discovery of a lifetime. It started when he noticed a sheet of wood on the wall that did not look right to him. After he took it down, he found a secret room. There was a box full of weapons and ammunition in there. As you can see, people tend to find all kinds of things in the basement of their new house. A safe in the backyard is not all that unusual either. However, we do not really hear of safes hidden in the kitchen wall all that often. That was what happened to this man. The kitchen safe contained an incredible array of items, $50,000 in cash, a copy of E.F. Schumacher's A Guide for the Perplexed, and a bottle of bourbon. Fascinating. This plumber could not believe it. He had been digging through the rubble of a bathroom in renovation when he actually struck gold. He saw a shiny object and grabbed it. Imagine his shock when he found a gold brick. Even though it was worth $50,000, he decided to be honest and returned it to the owners. Here is an interesting story. These contractors had been working on a renovation project in Arizona when they found $500,000 stashed in military ammunition containers. The contractors wanted to claim the cash as theirs, but the homeowners had put up a legal fight over the money. In the end, the money did not go to either of them. The court ruled that it was the rightful property of the heirs of whoever hid the money there in the first place. Robert Spann was the man who did so, but he passed away 11 years before the discovery of the cash. This was the reason his two daughters got it instead. Located in a historic building, Clifton's Cafeteria is one of the oldest Los Angeles establishments out there. The owner had been renovating the bathroom when he saw a neon light that he did not know about. What was so strange about it was that it was still on. According to experts, it must have been on for 77 years. This means that it is the longest lit neon light. The owner believes that it was lit in 1935, the year that the building was turned into a forest-themed diner. However, it was devastating when he realized that he paid about $17,000 in electrical bills thanks to the neon light. Experts were also baffled by this, since neon lights usually work for only 40 years or less. This couple from Hungary made an incredible historic discovery in the walls of their home. They had also been going through a renovation when they stumbled into over 6,000 documents from the Third Reich. The Nazi documents had important details about the Holocaust, among which was a census count for the Jews in the designated homes where they could be transferred before they were brought to the ghettos in Budapest. Scholars were fascinated with these new pieces of information because they are very rare. After all, the Nazis decided to destroy the majority of them when they knew that they were going to lose the war. The person assigned to get rid of these papers chose to stash them away instead of burning them. The census had been conducted 2 months before Hungary was occupied by the Nazis. The records say that around 600,000 Hungarian Jews had been killed during the Holocaust. This mom and son had been cleaning out the garage of their grandmother when they found an unexploded hand grenade. It had to be removed safely by the Australian military. They later found that the bomb did not have any fuse or explosives. Even if this was the case, we are sure that the family had been scared out of their wits. The house used to be owned by a 91-year-old woman who had a World War II soldier for a husband. The grenade came with an attached pin, which was the reason the entire area had to be cordoned off while the police evacuated it. We cannot think of anything more fascinating to discover that a secret agent used to live in your house. What is even more intriguing was that the secret agent was an unassuming old woman. A family learned this as they worked on the renovation of their home. That was when they found a stash of spy items, the sort of things that you would see in a video game or a movie. There was a machine gun, classified documents of Berlin after it was bombed in World War II, and telegrams from both the War Office and Her Majesty's Secret Service. Her name was Eileen Burgoyne, and she had been 98 years old when she died. She was a shadow agent throughout Gibraltar, Africa, Spain, and Germany. She was believed to have worked in the Cold War after the Second World War. Jason and Carrie Brown could not believe their luck when they found a house located in the foothills of the Appalachians. The house was foreclosed and went for $75,000. Of course, they assumed that the house was going to be a good deal. They had no idea that the 5-bed 2-bath fixer-upper would be a nightmare. The family started to renovate it after they paid for it. Carrie had been in the middle of fixing the bookcases in one room when she found a passageway to a hidden room. She found a chilling note from a previous inhabitant that said, "You found it." The note then went on to talk about a mold problem in the house that made them sick and forced them to move out. The Brown family ended up moving out and sued the people who sold them the house without any warning whatsoever. Nukestorm is the Reddit handle of the man who shared the creepy room he discovered in his new house. Located in the attic, he did not hear about the extra room until he saw it as he moved into the house. He could easily tell that there was something wrong with the room. For one thing, the door was just 4 feet high and came with a metal grate over it. Inside, he found a small bed, foam padding on the wall, and just one light. Perhaps the worst part about this hidden room was that there was no doorknob from the inside, so you would only be able to open it from the outside. This meant that anyone in there would not be able to go out. Even worse, the area was pretty secluded. No one would have heard you if you screamed from inside the room. Amber and Ben Sessions were able to buy a house in the countryside for the cheap price of $180,000. They eventually found out that their new 5-bed home was suffering from a garter snake infestation. Things got so bad that the house would feel like it was moving thanks to the hundreds of snakes there. They started to get suspicious when they continued to find one snake after the other. When Ben took off a sighting panel, he could not believe all the snakes that he saw. This was how they realized that the house was lying on top of a snake hibernaculum. It would seem that the previous homeowners ditched it after realizing that there was nothing to be done about it. We can totally understand why the Session family decided to leave after only 3 months and even applied for bankruptcy protection. Ouch. Amanda Reddy was a new homeowner who made a cool find after she removed the baseboard of the kitchen in her 1910 Cape Cod house. There were postcards there. She was shocked to see that the dates said 1907 and 1909. The postcards were all addressed to someone that went by the name Mame Burneck. She thought that they just fell down, but they were actually nailed to the surface of the wall. A Minnesota house was going through a renovation when someone found a copy of Action Comics #1 behind the wall. This 1938 Superman comic book was sold at an auction for $175,000. It was discovered among newspapers used to insulate the walls of the house. It got a good price, even though it had a torn back cover and a 1.5 grade. In 2011, a near-mint copy with a grade of 9.0 went for $2.16 million. This mover had been working on a new job when he saw a 6-foot-long wooden box accompanied by 3 smaller ones. The opposite ends of the boxes had openings on them. There were also metal railings inside that clicked like train tracks. Things only started to make sense when the mover found out that the new homeowner was a magician. How unsettling is it when you find strange things that should not be in a private home? Another mover was unnerved when he saw a leather straitjacket among the possessions of a client. On top of that, there was also a matching mask to go with it. We do not know about you, but we do not feel comfortable in the presence of ventriloquist dummies. While moving houses, movers found several female and male ones. There were fully assembled dolls, but there were also partially broken ones. The movers said that it was pretty unsettling to see them. In 1502, the famous Leonardo da Vinci was hired by an Italian statesman to make a depiction of the Battle of Anghiari. In the 1550s, another painter called Giorgio Vasari got hired to paint over it. However, the younger man could not destroy the work of the master. The theory says that they built a false wall over it to preserve the original mural. Calvin Ascioy had been living in his house for 2 months when he found out that it was full of bats. There were hundreds of them in the walls, the attic, and the ceiling. Calvin sealed all the entry points to prevent them from coming in. However, he had to take more drastic measures. He even built a bat sanctuary outside his house in the hopes that they would stay there. Army veteran Kerry Kremian and his spouse Cindy got a new house in Texas. They were shocked to see that there was a military burial in the garage. This discovery brought the former soldier to tears because this object felt like it carried the life of someone. They used Facebook to look for the family of the fallen soldier. Apparently, the man passed away in a car crash in 1980. He was survived by 3 daughters. After he moved into his new apartment, this man was shocked to see that there was a trapdoor in front of the bathroom. He decided to check it out to see what was hiding down there. He did not initially think that it was a huge deal until he noticed the stairs. Not once did he think that the passages would lead to dungeons. The house was actually built on an English monastery. Who would have thought that a Russian figurine would be stashed in an attic for almost seen decades? Found in upstate New York, the rare Fabergé piece was actually commissioned by Nicholas II in 1912. It was a present for Empress Alexandra, his wife. Reports said that the model only had 50 copies made. This explains why the figurine went for a cool $5.2 million during an auction. Not everyone finds incredible objects in old homes. As a matter of fact, you have a better chance of stumbling into garbage or junk than actual treasure. For this one, we will let you be the judge. A person stumbled into an old peanut butter jar filled with corn from the mid-70s. Is it trash or treasure? It is up to you to decide. Thank you for watching and don't forget to subscribe.